As many people have come to realize, the Lauri Markkanen sweepstakes are kind of tapering off, and bar anything incredible occurring, it's really likely that nothing ends up coming of it. The belief is that he will end up signing his max contract extension realistically at earliest on August 7th, because that will push him beyond the February trade deadline, meaning that he effectively signs into a 1-year no trade clause in a sense, which can keep the rumors out of his head at the very least until next offseason, at which point I don't think there will be very much need for any rumors to be tossed around at all. After all, they will have effectively completed the worst year of their tank in expectation and should be looking to trend upwards with the culmination of the young and established talent they have on the roster. With that being said, we're going to dive a little bit more into why I think there was very interesting news recently that may have ended up being the nail in the coffin, conveying the message to fans and other teams alike that Lauri will be staying with the Utah Jazz. With that being said, it's your boy Wraith Hoops. Go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on post notification, and let's go ahead and get into this one. Lauri Markkanen has been established as a phenomenal shooting talent at 7 foot and having the ability to literally shoot the lights out of the gym, doing most of his damage off of the catch. It's no wonder a lot of teams would be inquiring as to his value. But I believe that Danny Ainge never intended to actually trade him unless something absolutely insane was put on the table. But as all good GMs do, he had to do the correct play, which was to shop him around a little bit, see what guys were willing to offer, what guys were willing to trade for him. And because there was no amazing over-the-top deal that was offered, it was like, it works because we weren't planning on trading him anyways. And I think that he will ultimately end up signing that max contract. I believe on the 7th, we will see him sign that dotted line. I expect the contract to be really front loaded. I don't think it's going to be like an even match across all the years. It just makes the most sense that way because they have $30 million in extra cap space literally just sitting around for this upcoming season. So going ahead and getting above the cap floor, according to the new CBA deal, just makes the most sense. And having that space available to spend on Lauri Markkanen and go ahead and get that out of the way so that you don't have to worry about it 2 or 3 years down the line definitely makes the most sense to me. I believe that it's going to really allow them to be a little bit more creative with who they sign and the extensions that they give their young players when their rookie deals end up being up, because that will ultimately put them into a position to where they can front load those contracts and it won't conflict with their ability to eventually re-sign Lauri Markkanen when he's about 32, 33 years old. And that will put them into a position to have a certain level of longevity that they haven't really had in some time. Again, the piece, though, that I actually found to be very interesting and honestly believe that it was the nail in the coffin telling us that Lauri's going to be in Utah at the very least for this season to stay is the social media post on the Utah Jazz IG page where they were basically welcoming Keyonte George to the capital city in Finland because none other than Keyonte George, of all players on the team, went to go visit him for workouts. I found that to be very interesting because I didn't know they were really close. It just seemed really off the wall, really surprising, but it also was very telling. I don't believe it was too much of a subliminal message. I think it just said, hey, yeah, he's allegedly on the trading block. Yes, people really want him and we're hearing you guys out, but realistically, he's going to be here unless y'all play your cards absolutely tremendously and give us something we absolutely would be mind-bogglingly stupid not to accept. We're going to be keeping our lone all-star. And that's the way it's playing out, in my eyes, at the very least. With Keyonte George going over there, getting workouts, on top of that, it being posted on the main social media page of the Utah Jazz, it just kind of pushes things even further on down the line. Again, Lauri has been a frequent flyer to and from his Finland home nation in the off seasons past, so it doesn't really surprise me that he went. The fact that Keyonte George, of all players, did end up going, though, is a little bit more interesting, and that leads me to believe that they're trying to build a certain level of chemistry, trying to work on Keyonte George shooting, trying to create a level of synergy and just a vibe between the two of them that will stand the test of time for as long as this roster is constructed the way that it is. I believe that it makes the most sense for Lauri Markkanen to stay in Utah. Yes, it will be just another one bad year, but at that point he will be effectively like really in his prime, and that will allow him to showcase what he's really great at doing, while also seeing the ascension of all the young talent that's also going to be on the roster alongside him. Remember, Keyonte George needs to take a step forward. He shot underneath 40% from field goal range, and he shot underneath 35% from three-point range, but I expect those numbers to slowly creep up because he has the necessary tools to get the job done. It's just about him going through the motions and getting it actually done. I believe Colin Sexton will do nothing worse than he did last year. I think he'll become a slightly better playmaker, and it will make him one of the more premier point guards in the league instead of just always regarding him as a undersized two guard. I think that Walker Kessler and Taylor Hendricks and Bryce Sensabaugh will all see elevations in their games, and I need to see it from Taylor Hendricks because he has the most upside from a switchability standpoint, both on defense and on offense, being able to knock down that long ball. And he had one really good game in the Summer League, but there was some other ones where he was just giving us some head scratchers, which really concerned me. But outside of that, I believe that they will all take a step forward. You also have the rookie class of Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, and Cody Williams that I believe will definitely show flashes. I don't know how great Isaiah Collier will be at the end of his rookie year, but I definitely expect Cody Williams to put on some size and show that that is the main facet of his game that actually needs to change. And then Kyle Filipowski should find a way to be comfortable, and once he ends up locking in on defense, find a home in the league permanently. But outside of that, I'm not too concerned with where the Utah Jazz are. Unfortunately, it did pan out this way. I would have loved to have Chris Dunn on the roster. Taylor Horton-Tucker is having a hard time finding a substantial contract offer, and for good reason, because the Jazz just weren't able to revitalize any part of him while he was with them. And I know some people will point to the flashes that he had, and he wasn't all bad, but the issue was he didn't provide nearly enough good to justify keeping him on the roster. I believe that a guy like Isaiah Collier, once he gets his turnovers in check, could be a more ideal person and a fit at that guard spot. I believe that once Keyonte George gets his shooting touch correct, I believe that I would prefer him at the two guard spot because that would be a lot more comfortable and closer to what he did in his college days. And Lauri, having worked out with Keyonte George overseas, and not just overseas in some neutral site, overseas in Lauri's home country, goes to tell me that they're locked in. They're like peanut butter and jelly. They're bread and butter. It's going crazy over there. I think that it will lead to strides as far as possibly creationist aspects of Lauri Markkanen's game, because he doesn't really put the ball on the deck and he's not super effective in that range when it comes to anything above 2 to 3 dribbles. And then for Keyonte George, I just think his jumper will come back a little bit smoother. And that's going to be the biggest thing that will allow him to take strides forward. Because yes, he can drive downhill. Yes, he can get a little floater off. Yes, he has a little bit of a smooth layup package. But at the same time, while he takes the right threes, they just don't always go in. And I need to see a world where Keyonte George has the ability to see his three ball fall at the rate that is necessary, and also allow for him to properly play in a role alongside Lauri Markkanen without being a hindrance. And I believe that both of them being together just serves as that final needle, that final piece of hay on the haystack that sends everything in the card stack tumbling down and tells us Lauri is going to be a Jazz man for the foreseeable future. And as much as we felt like it should have been the case, and there were rumors going all over the place about all the offers they were entertaining and all the possibilities of what could potentially happen, it just made the most sense for it to turn out this way. And honestly, I think that the Utah Jazz will be better for it, because Lauri Markkanen is one of the lone stars that has said he wants to raise his family in Utah, says that he enjoys being in Utah, and long term he could see himself staying there. And there's just not that many players across NBA history that have ever said that about small market teams in general, and more specifically, the Utah Jazz. But let me know if I'm bugging in the comments below. Do you guys think that Lauri Markkanen will end up re-signing on the 6th or the 7th? Or do you think that he will end up possibly being traded in some insane blockbuster move right at the moment when we think he's going to sign? Also, if you do think he's going to re-sign with the Utah Jazz, what do you think his contract structure is going to look like? Yes, we understand he's going to get a max, but do you think it's going to be front-loaded, back-loaded? Do you think it's going to be a slight of an easy spread? But with that being said, go on and smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, become a member of the channel, or drop a donation to help support the content. And without any further ado, good morning, good evening, and good night. No matter where you're in the globe watching, thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.